Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Reese, part number DB591AU is what this is. This is a door bottom, or it could also be an astragal. If you install it down below the door, or maybe even on top of the door, it could be a door bottom, a really good one at that. If you installed it vertically, it's very likely to be an astragal, is what you might have there. So what this is, what the DB, the door bottom 591, which is the profile of this, the A stands for mill aluminum finish, and then the U stands for polyurethane. We'll talk more about that in a moment. It has the following dimensional properties. 1.25 inches wide on the aluminum extrusion. Looks like it's a little, yeah, right on. They've got a 1/2 inch on the total height. My tape measure is showing me, yeah, about a 1/2 inch. I know it's dark to see that, but yeah, coming right at just shy of right on a 1/2 inch, maybe slightly shy. And those are the dimensional properties. So, what are you going to use this for, and why polyurethane? Let's talk about that now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, it's a door bottom. Now this is just a 6-inch sample piece. If this was the genuine article, it would have a hole drilled in the aluminum every so many inches so that it makes sense. Maybe 8 or 10 inches, something in that range. Don't quote me. Maybe 10 inches. And generally you'll have one hole more than the length of the item. So if it's a 3-foot piece, you should have 4 holes as a general rule of thumb. You're going to use something like this when you have a door thickness or an application thickness where 1.25 inches is compatible with. More importantly, that you've got an application where you can fit something that's nominally a 1/2 inch. You might get down to 3/8 of an inch. You don't want to crush that down too much, and you don't want to make the door very difficult to open and close as a result of that. And if you have a new installation, I would suggest that you simply design the undercut or clearance from the door to what this will rest on accordingly. I'd probably make it 3/8 of an inch, of clear space there. Which would be clearance. Clearance is going to be, you've got the term undercut and clearance. The term undercut is the dimension from the bottom of the door to the bottom of the jamb. Great. Typical hollow metal, that's 3/4 inch. It can be something different, but it's typically that. But clearance, though, is the dimension from the bottom of the door to the top of whatever is there. That could be 3/4 inch, but if you have a flooring condition, if you have a threshold or a sill, something that's there, your undercut is now clearance, and that will be less than whatever the undercut is. So you've got to make sure that your clearance is going to be compatible with this. Now, why this is so special is, and I've recommended this to a client who, they're a government entity in charge of the preservation of state history. So they're part of what they do is, keep the infrastructure of the state humming along, and on those buildings, like the state capitol building of this state that I'm thinking of, they need to do things according to custom, let's say. It has to be appropriate for the state historical preservation board. And the concept of this is they had put in some doors that were compliant, but they couldn't go slapping on door sweeps on everything, and they needed it to be concealed. They needed a seal, but they needed that seal to be concealed, and that's where this came in. They've got some 1.5 inch wide aluminum doors for whatever the application is, and I suggested putting this underneath the door and they're not going to screw it. They insist on not piercing through the aluminum, and I get that because it is a wet condition that's down there. There might be rain, or there might actually be a hose involved sporadically in that area, so they didn't want to pierce in the aluminum. So what they may try to do is put this on with two-sided tape, which I don't endorse, but as I've probably said to them, well, it's certainly, if I was going to do it, I said, I would remove the insert, I would get the best double-sided tape there is, taking into account the thickness, probably by 3M. I would follow the instructions for what that material wants to be attached to, and I would put the full length on the bottom of the door, but I would have clamps ready. I'd have pony clamps that would go the entire height of the door. I'd have a piece of wood over this, a piece of wood at the top of the door, and I would clamp that all down, and I would let that sit there for 48 hours and hope for the best. At that point, I would then insert my polyurethane, my U-shaped polyurethane. Now, why did I recommend polyurethane over vinyl or neoprene or silicone or thermoplastic or pile or brush? And it's because, and I'll point it out later in the catalog, polyurethane is the most, by far, the most abrasion-resistant seal there is. So polyurethane's something that I recommend in applications where I know there's going to be complete contact with the floor. So scraping this over the floor with neoprene or vinyl, that's not going to last for really long. But polyurethane is quite abrasion resistant, and that's why I suggested this. So that would be a typical application of where I would suggest using this. Obviously, I would suggest using this with the screws. You would screw it in. If it's a wood door or something that you can modify, what you can consider doing is mortising the door. So you might be able to take that up into the bottom of the door ever so slightly. What you could also consider doing is modifying this and then adding springs below there. If you have a sill condition that's not level, as a result of that, well, you could also make yourself a template that you could apply to the bottom of the door, so that when if you were to route the bottom of the door, you were doing so such that the depth of your route was compatible with what you needed to achieve at the very end. So that's going far past a lot of typical installations, but nonetheless, it's something to keep in mind as a way to improve your installation. And it was said to me very recently, the saying was, if complexity comes for free, why not use it? And what that means, as it was explained to me, was if you've got the skill set and you can take advantage and leverage that skill set to make the job better, why wouldn't you? So anyway, if complexity comes for free, why not use it? Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a look at all the supporting information on this door bottom. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, before we move on with looking at the extended description of the DB591AU, let's take a look at the images that we have posted down below. That's what it looks like in cross-section. The underside. That material comes slightly fatigued when it arrives. It'll relax over time, and it has noticeably ever since I've just taken it out of the packaging half an hour ago. Showing you what the aluminum extrusion looks like with the material partially installed. A cross-section, you'll notice a couple little ridges here and here. I like that when you're going into a wood door because it will help retard the movement of this item in a lateral sense. As the door opens and closes, if you've got a little bit of bite into the bottom of your wood door here and here, I think that'll do a good job. It's mill. If you're installing this in a door bottom application, I wouldn't spend the extra money for dark bronze, even if they offer it. I believe they do, because it would be an astragal as well. You're never going to see this. Okay, DB591AU, manufacturer's name and number. Just another view, maybe a little more close-up view of that. Now let's take a closer look at the extended description of this item. Okay, we've gone over the images of what we are looking at in terms of this DB591AU. Let's look at the extended description. Really big image there. Door shoe with Polyurethane, we'll get that misspelling corrected, polyurethane. Mill finish, aluminum extrusion lengths. We have it in the site everywhere from 2 foot to 8 foot lengths, and it's available in typical 2, 4, 6 inch increments in terms of length. You can have likely any length that you want up to about 16.5 feet, but be mindful when the length of the item gets greater than 36, the cost to ship starts to do that, with that being 36, that being 96. Gets up there really quick. So don't order long lengths, because that's what we're accustomed to with casing or board feet of lumber. Order what you need, and only go long lengths when you have to, when the application requires it. If you're doing an overhead garage door, what I would suggest is, let's say you've got a 12-foot wide garage door. I'd order 2 of these in maybe 80 inch. I would trim the aluminum to length, but then in the comment field I would type there, ship the urethane insert as a continuous roll at X feet, 14 feet or whatever it might be. The aluminum will be butted, but the insert will be continuous. So anytime you can cheat that or hack that sort of application, do it, because the insert will be rolled or folded over. Not folded, but it won't be in a straight continuous length. That's how I like to do it. If you need it to be fire rated, indicate that at the time of order. There may be a marginal additional cost. We'll let you know if there is before proceeding. Would include 6 by 5/8 panhead screws. There is a link to the document called installation. Very typical document. Measure twice and cut once is all this says. I would very strongly suggest that you review it. Product brochure. That's handy because it will allow us to look at polyurethane, vinyl, and pile seals. Our DB591 is here. The extrusion can be done in A, mill, D, dark bronze, or G, gold. Now that's fun. On this link to the manufacturer's page here, you can watch this video and it will show you what all of the different finishes from Reese look like. So that's mill, that's dark bronze, that's clear anodized aluminum, that's fun, that's black, gold anodized, stainless steel, you get the picture. Pretty fun to watch that. Now, this has an F at the end. That means it's going to be vinyl. It's what they call finned or little fingers vinyl is what that will be. All products on this page are UL and are available with the following: smooth vinyl, vinyl with fingers, add the F, polyurethane smooth, excellent low temperature characteristics, excellent resistance to wear, add the suffix U. So there you go, really important. You want this sort of U-shaped bottom with the integrated drip cap, and you want it in polyurethane. Make it an AU, CU, DU. C is clear anodized, as I had said before. Let's take a look. I have mentioned that we're going to take a longer look at what polyurethane is. So the link below this video to that manufacturer's page, back there, you'll be able to see not only all of the Reese products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Fire up that catalog, and then do a find function for polyurethane, Control F, and you're going to get ultimately to a page that's going to give an overview of its characteristics. Polyurethane. Reese's exclusive polyurethane weather strips far exceed any other product on the market. Specify it for your next job. Only Reese does polyurethane that I am aware of, and I would definitely like to call your attention to just this stuff here. High abuse areas such as schools, correctional institutions, dusty or abrasive environments, extremely cold, high traffic, 4 times the tear resistance of silicone, 40 times the tensile strength, 100 times the abrasion resistance of silicone, flexible, pretty low, unaffected by ultraviolet. Now that's interesting, because if you use vinyl and you have daylight, sunlight whether it be blocked by clouds. You've got daylight. Well, all daylight carries ultraviolet. You will, in especially areas that have a high UV value, your vinyl won't last but a couple of years. So if you have ever seen dry, cracked vinyl and weather stripping, it's because of the ultraviolet. If you're in that area, don't even bother with vinyl. Unless you're executing a contract and price is the only governing issue, go with something that will last, and that would be polyurethane. Resistance to fungus, petroleum-based solvents. We specify and supply this product in food processing plants because it's always going to be wet. They can't have any of that business. Unaffected by halon. That's nice. If there's a fire in the area, there's a possibility that your gasketing may be able to be reused if something happens to your doors or door hardware. I doubt that would be the case in the sense of actually reusing it, but nonetheless. There you go. This catalog is full of all things Reese related, and I would strongly urge you to scroll through the entire catalog. One more item of note would be their STC table. So if you're doing an opening that you want to have better sound control over, refer to the Reese STC or sound transmission control documentation. STC 46, that's a pretty reasonable value when it comes to an operating door. And if you now work in a home office, you might want to look at the head and jamb weather stripping, the door bottom, okay? Probably somewhere you can see a door caulked shut is going to have an STC 32 when you've completely sealed it. So I would think you're going to want to be somewhere closer up here if you're actually trying to make an effort to retard the transmission of sound, whether it be a home office or it be like a retail space where they have a mechanical closet that's in tremendous close proximity to a sales area. They might have a hot water tank or something that needs to run. We'll often see STC doors specified there because they don't want to hear the motor running on the other, in their retail area. So I would point that out. Not a very long catalog, but what they have is really important for you to review. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Well, hopefully we've made the case for considering Reese products, and I will say a couple of final things in closing. When it comes to technical support, you really have to get past customer service. They're just so well trained there. When it comes to customer service, they're exceptional naturally. When it comes to off topic of customer service, if you're doing a job that's oil rub bronze, meaning 613, a true oil rub bronze, if you have experience with weather stripping on dark bronze, you'll have this manufacturer here and then one right here. Well, that one way over here, their dark bronze is, you can almost make an argument that it is black, and the only time you know that it's not black is when you compare it to something that's truly black, like my mat that you can partially see here on the camera. The next manufacturer is not so dark, but quite dark. The bottom line is none of that matches oil rubbed bronze very well. So if you're doing a job, I always think of a YMCA that I did in Evanston, Illinois. One or two exterior doors, but these doors were extremely expensive. It was a main entrance for the health facility, the health club type entrance. Very heavy gauge hollow metal door, even heavier gauge frame. I believe there were multiple windows and side lights. There was access control. Von Duprin 55. They wanted 55 series rim. No, they weren't 55s. They were 88s. But now I'm having trouble understanding what we did in terms of access control. The point of the matter is all of the hardware was ordered as 613. The hinges were 613. The exit device and the trim was 613. The closer was 613. It was ordered as a metal cover with an arm done in 613. And that Reese gasketing, no one noticed it. just matched so perfectly. They would have noticed it if it was someone who made something basically black. It wouldn't have matched very well, because someone's asking for 613 because they want that specific look, that rich, dark bronze look that will age with time, and the Reese material matches it extremely well. Any questions on the DB591AU or any other Reese product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. For watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.